Hey guys, it is AssassinFlonne here, and I'm going to be talking about what makes your flipping boring and predictable. So a lot of people fall into this trap thinking when you're flipping you need to be conserving momentum, keeping the knife moving at the exact same speed all the time. Which makes sense because people don't want to watch flipping with like a bunch of stutters and stops and goes and a bunch of mistakes. So you want to show that you can flip smoothly and cleanly all the time with no stops. But that's boring because there's only so many tricks that can properly conserve momentum out of other tricks. And if you only know how to conserve momentum, then there's certain things where you're going to do a certain trick and you're going to be stuck doing a specific trick out of that trick every single time in order to conserve momentum. So this is where I introduce something that I call momentum stalls. And they're basically ways of introducing pauses into your flipping and momentum changes in order to keep it interesting. So let's take a really basic example like the index roll. Super boring, no stalls, no pauses. And then let's introduce one of these momentum stalls. So I'm going to kind of bounce and then roll. Right? So bounce, roll. Okay, super bad. Bounce, roll. Right? So let's see that in a combo. I'll try to set up some time where I would do that. We'll do that instead. You see it? You see the little momentum stall. It doesn't take much. And you're just going to kind of toss those in. So one of the tricks to it is, obviously you don't want to just stop flipping. Like the whole point of doing this, the whole point of flipping is to be flipping. So you're not just going to stop. There's a really specific kind of thing here I'm doing. So when I pop it out, you'll kind of see the bite handle wiggle, right? So it swings, 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 swings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it to swing back in the direction where I want to go. So I'm going to swing, and then I would want to go, right? So, whoop, there we go. So it's not really stopping the momentum. You could think of it kind of more as an isolation of momentum. I'm going to isolate this one handle. Everything else will stop moving. And then, once I want it, I'm going to take the momentum from that and kick it into whatever else I want. And so the cool thing about this is that when it's not really moving much, you have options and a little bit of time to think. So now you can change it up. You can go into like something completely different that you normally wouldn't do. Awesome. Not boring. Not predictable. So let's look at a trick that everyone knows how to do that's super boring, super predictable. It's going to start in this position, and if you've watched a lot of flipping, you might already know what I'm going to do. It's a thumb rollover. Everyone's done a thumb rollover. But you already knew I was going to do a thumb rollover. And I've done thumb rollovers thousands of times. You've probably done thumb rollovers thousands of times. So it's boring. It's predictable. So how do I take this and make it so you don't know what I'm going to do next? So I'm going to start with this grip, and I'm just going to introduce a little thing before the Zen rollover. Right? So I'm still doing a thumb rollover, but now I'm doing like this little flare in front. So when you see me in this position, you think this guy's going to do a thumb rollover, and I do this, it's slightly more interesting. And, you know, sometimes I can do a thumb rollover, and then sometimes I'll mix in the underhand. So how can I make this even more unpredictable? Well, part of the issue was that when I started in this grip, you already knew that I was going to do a thumb rollover. And even if I do kind of this, I'm still doing a thumb rollover. So what if we start in a whole different grip? Let's just start in a normal grip. And let's introduce a closed grip change. So instead of doing just this, we're going to start in the opposite grip, closed grip change, into a Zen rollover. That's it. And, you know, you got to pick up the speed, make it look a bit smoother. I just added the little underhand thing there as well. So, grip change, rollover. Cool. Grip change, underhand rollover. Cool. So now, this kind of basic rollover that's super boring and predictable is a bit less boring, a bit less predictable. And then let's introduce one of those kind of momentum stall things to further just completely mess everything up. So instead of doing a thumb rollover, let's start in the exact same grip, and I'm going to do this momentum stall that I like a lot, where you go to do a rollover, and you just don't, and you just whip it back into open. So, instead of letting go of the handle, I'm just going to hold on to the handle, and I'm going to bring it back. Oop, oop. Cool. Okay. So now let's add the underhand. Cool. I mean, that was a trick. That was interesting. And then let's add the complete different grip change. So we're going to grip change, underhand, lock, open. Beautiful. Now you've got this kind of cool little unique looking trick that you just developed out of this boring trick has now become that trick. And it's still kind of built around a Zen rollover. So like, if you find yourself in a time where you want to do a Zen rollover in a combo, let's say like right here, boom, let's lock it, open it. Cool. Interesting. And now, when we have this grip, we have options. So when you're freestyling, comboing, or whatever, you have multiple things you can do out of the same little position, the same, like, flow. So when you're flowing through, I don't know, it gives you options. That's it. That's it. Just don't do the same thing every single time. Try to see how to mix things up, how to change things, how to make sure that when people are watching you, they never know what you're going to do next. That's the trick.